Today we're going to be talking about the things that you didn't know until you started working in football. Let's get into the video. Number one for me will have to be your perception of how many jobs there actually is in the football industry. When you think about it, a lot of people would say, oh, there's only groundsman, CEO, commercial stuff, and the coaching stuff. Well, you could not be more wrong. There are endless possibilities in working in football. One of the coolest ones, I think I would definitely say, is sports law, that you can actually be involved in the transfer of the players and be involved in the commercial side of the business, dealing with club partners, club sponsors, and their contractual agreement with the club. Another really interesting one is the data analysis for the club. I think more and more clubs nowadays, they tend to get more into data. For example, if you do have a footballer that is performing at a certain level, you can, get the statistics, analyze them, and if he's been doing this for a certain amount of time, that means, you can test him if he can be successful with that team, with the stats that he had. So yeah, there's definitely more jobs than you think in a football club. Number two for me is working in football is so unpredictable. And to give you an example, if you're a stock trader and you trade stock and shares, you could see the red flags coming in a few days before, a few hours before, that the stock market will go up and down. In football, it's honestly like a lottery. So even if you're playing, your team is stronger and you're playing an opponent that is meant to be weaker, it's a lottery. You might lose as well. You might lose, 4-0 because the boys are having a worse day. It is also very exciting at the same time because you never know what's gonna happen. But it's definitely for people who are good with controlling their emotions. If you get really stressed, it is not a job for you. Another aspect in working in footballs are the co-workers. I could definitely tell you now from my perspective and my experience that there are two people who work for football clubs. Number one are people who are die-hard fans of a football club. They love the team. They are honestly the biggest fans ever, and for them, the job is something fun. They love it, and they usually stay there for a really, really long time. But the second group of people that work in football are people who have never been to a football game before, which is actually quite funny because you have no in between. You don't have people who are, oh yeah, I like football, but I support another team. Most of it is either one or the other, nothing in between. Number four for me on my list is the salary and the amount of time that you work for the club. I feel like there is a high staff turnover for the majority of football clubs. I feel like a lot of people that go there work for 1 or 2 years and then they leave. And I think football clubs, they know that and they can take advantage of that because there's so many people who want to work there. It's such a competitive area of the business, especially if you're looking for a job. It's just a really fun environment to work with, and it's very, very competitive. Another aspect connected to my previous point is the fact that because there is a really high staff turnover and a lot of people are there only for a certain amount of time, usually football clubs are not, I'm saying usually, it's just my observation from my personal experience and my friends and other people that I know, it's harder to get some sort of training in the business. So for example, a lot of people who work for big corporations, they are offered training or they are offered, help with their master's degrees and stuff like that. Football clubs, I think their tactic is a bit okay, you're coming in, you're working here for 2 years, and then, we can easily replace you. That's just my personal opinion. I'm sure there are maybe other clubs that provide further training and, aids to further yourself and take additional courses. After doing the research, I do feel like the majority of the clubs work like this. Another point that I would like to raise in here is that the majority of the staff working for the club are men. There's not a lot of females working football. For example, with me personally, whenever I go somewhere and people ask me, oh, where do you work? and I set up for a football club, and they're like, what? How did that happen? And although it is changing, definitely a lot of more females are being invited to work for football clubs, I do feel like this is still a very highly men dominated area. So if you're a girl and you want to work in football, go for it. And the last thing that I wanted to outline in this video is the fact that if you work for a football club, you become part of the community. And honestly, the amount of love I've received working for a football club, and a lot of my friends as well, from the fans, from the local communities, you know, thanking you, expressing their gratitude towards the club, what they did, it's honestly one of the most rewarding feelings I've ever had in my life. A lot of people come to you and say like, oh, you know, my son, for example, he's disabled, he loves going to the games. There are a lot of people, you know, they're so grateful for this. So I was never directly involved with the fans, but I still received their messages on LinkedIn or my email. A lot of people saying, I love it, like, thank you so much for whatever you're doing. It's honestly the best feeling in the world. Thank you guys so much for watching. This was a very quick video. I just wanted to throw it out there, prepare you before, if some of you are thinking about working in sports. These are just my observations, and obviously it's just my personal opinion. It's definitely one of the most rewarding careers ever. It's very unpredictable and very crazy at times, but I think I wouldn't change it for the world. So let me know what you think if you're working in the football environment, and yeah, I look forward to hearing from you. See you in the next video.